Hi folks, it's Neil from Config Services here. We're a software consultancy business focused around the open source tools and projects that you might use within your business. And we're creating a three-part series on the LibreNMS alerting system. This video is going to focus specifically on the transports, how to create those, group them together, and then test the transports as well to make sure they're working. Okay, to get us started, we're going to go off and create a couple of transports and get them configured. It's worthwhile pointing out that there is some extensive documentation around transports within the LibreNMS platform. On the right-hand side here, you can see all of the transports available, and in each one, it'll give you a list of configuration options that you can use. A lot of the time, there are links off to third-party systems, so Discord's an example here, where because we allow you to utilize some of the additional parameters that the APIs might accept, then obviously we reference you back to the documentation to find out what those are, and then here you can pass those options across. Now, if I go back into the LibreNMS alerting system, so up to alerts and then transports, this section is where you're going to configure those. Now, at the minute, we've not got anything set up, but if I go through and show you how to create a couple of those and configure them, I'll also just quickly run through what some of this means. So you've got the three standard options at the top. They will be the same for every single transport that you might pick from. So you can kind of see that they stay the same. But as I'm picking different transports, you'll see all of the available options below will change to be bespoke to that individual transport itself. I'm going to set mail up as one test. It's probably one of the de facto standards that most people use. We just give this a description at the top. Now that's something bespoke to yourselves and your install, and you'll use it then to select these transports at a later stage. Default alert is a feature where if you turn this on, what will happen is any rules that get created without a transport being associated with them will refer back to any default alert transports that have been set up. So if you want to just have a catch-all, maybe configure the mail transport to send to your NOC team, and then just configure that as a default alert. So any alert rules that get created will always use that no matter what happens. We're not going to select that in this test video. We're going to leave it because we're going to go back and associate a group once we've got that configured at a later stage. The specific options for mail, you can see these now at the top here. This is around the contact method that we might use of obtaining the email addresses. The top one, it's a specified email address, which in the box below, you can type in the distribution group name or end user's email address, whatever that might be. Device syscontact is the ability to actually utilize the information we collect as part of the polling process on each device, where we pull in the syscontact information. Now, you might use that where you want something to be a bit more dynamic. So, for example, you might create your syscontact values on your devices. Say it's a security device, you might send it to your SOC team. If it's a network device, it might go to NOC. And we will pull that information in, so you don't have to manually configure email addresses at that stage. The owner contact type is used basically where you're creating a LibreNMS user, which then has to have devices, ports, or builds associated with it, so they've got the permission to be able to see those pieces of information. When you create that type of user, we will then pull in any of those devices that they've got access to, and if it matches up with the alert that's been triggered, then we will send them a message and an email at that particular point in time. And finally, we've got the role option, which if you just jump down 2 fields, this is based on the 3 different roles available within LibreNMS. So you've got your standard admin accounts, your global read, and your user accounts. And we basically will pull in the email addresses from each of those, which ones you specify. We're going to leave this to none because actually we're going to do the specified email address a lot simpler for the demo we're running through. BCC option is pure and simply, it moves the email addresses that are going to be used to send an email to from the to field into the BCC, just in case you've got sort of third-party contacts or client email addresses embedded in there. You might want to obscure those from end users. So you can move that to a BCC field at that point. This is an option to be able to turn off or on the ability to embed graphs within the emails that get sent out. Now, turning this on doesn't automatically mean that an image is going to get embedded into the email that gets sent. You have to also set that up in the templates themselves. But if you just want to stop that functionality from being available to your users, then you can turn this feature off here. We're going to leave it on because we're going to make use of that in the template we create in a later video. But for now, we're going to save this transport, and you'll see this page now gets refreshed. We've got our transport we've created, which particular type it is, and then the configuration options that we've selected. Now, we're also going to go off and create a Discord transport just to show you what that one looks like. Again, we're not going to select it to be a default one because we're going to create a group in a second. But you need the webhook URL that Discord will give you as part of its setup. Now, I've got one already saved, so I'm just going to go and grab that and bring it in. And then in the options, this is the ability to now go off and pass on additional parameters that Discord accepts as part of its API. So I know one of the options available to me here without going looking at the docs is the username that the alert looks like it's coming from. I think the default is SpideyBot, so I'm going to just change that. And then we've got fields to embed in the alert. So this is where you can pass on additional information from LibreNMS over to the alert that goes through to Discord. We're not going to use that because actually we'll make use of the templates at a later stage to show you the flexibility that gives. But we're going to save this transport for you now. Now, if you've made any mistakes setting these up, you can just simply edit them, make any changes that you might want to, and hit Save Transport again. And if you want to remove any, then just hit the trash can icon, confirm that you want to delete it, and it will get removed from the system. Okay, we're now going to move on to creating transport groups. It's in the same section as we created the transports earlier. And if we just hit Create Transport Group option at the bottom, we come up with a very basic form. Here, we just want to give it a name that's relevant for what we're trying to achieve. So testing group in this case. And then under group members, if you click into the input box there, you can now select from the different transports that have been created. So you can see the mail and Discord options we've got available to us from what we've created previously. So I'm going to select both of those to be part of this transport group. When we save that, you'll see that now appear here, which is the group name we've created. Transport's available as part of that group. And then you've got your usual options here of being able to edit the transport group or delete. Now, as we've not selected any of the transports to be the default for our rules, we now need to bind either an individual transport or a group to the alert rule itself. So if we head over to alerts and then alert rules, we've got this one that's been triggered at the minute for devices down. So if I edit this one, just near the bottom now, there's a transport input box. If you click on this, you get the ability to select either from the group or the individual transports you've created. Now you can mix and match as well. So I can choose the group I want to be associated, and then actually I can choose to associate individual transports as well. So you might want to do this if for the majority you're just using your group for all of the rules, but there's a specific rule where you want it to do something slightly different or in addition to, you can come back here and just add additional transports in. We're going to stick with just the testing group we've created and show you what that looks like. So now that I've saved that, within the next sort of 60 seconds, we should start seeing alerts through on Discord and email for this, and I'll show you those in a second. Okay, we've had some alerts starting to come through now, so we're just going to show you what that looks like in both Discord and email. So very simple template associated with this at the minute, but we've got multiple devices down at the minute, so we get a couple of messages coming through to this channel at each point in time when the alert triggers. And then the emails, so this has got a graph embedded, but it is a dark theme, so it looks a little bit odd. Using a simple template again, I'll show you how to edit those later on in another video. But this is the message that's coming through on our test run at the moment. Okay, we now finally move on to actually testing. So this is how to test the transports you've created and configured. Two ways to do that. One is through the web UI, which is going to probably be used in 99% of the cases. If you need a little bit more debugging information, then you'll probably need to drop to the CLI to get that. I'll show you both anyway. So for the first one, for the web UI, if we move on to the alert section and then back to transports. Now on the right hand side of each transport, you've got this sort of orangey yellow tick box, which is where we can use to test the transports themselves. So I'm going to just test Discord. I hit that now. I'll show you what that looks like coming through to Discord, so you see the difference between a genuine alert and the test. So this is our test that's come through here now, and we can see that very basic generic template that's been applied. Email is the same, but I'm not going to show you that. I'm not going to test that again. We've seen that live and running already. But what I will do is move on to the CLI now and show you how to go off and test the transports from there. So we've got a couple of scripts in LibreNMS for testing. One is -template, and obviously that's going to be used to test the templates themselves, and we'll show you in another video of how to use that. The other one is alert, and this one is useful for testing both the rules and the transports that you've created. If we run that without any arguments, it shows us which parameters we need to pass on here. So we've got -R for the rule ID. If I just head back to the web interface, head to alerts, and then alert rules, hover over this icon on the left hand side, and we can see here this is number 20. So for this rule that we're testing now, -R20, and then you need to also pass a -H and a host name or a device ID. So if I head back to devices here, see this device which is down, so we know that's going to be helpful in the debugging process, and it's number 38, so we want to pass -H 38 for the device ID, and then we've got -D for debug. Now if I run that, I've got a bunch of SQL queries that are being run, and it shows you each of those queries, so that if you want to take those, you can copy and paste them into a MySQL client or something similar and run them, see what data is coming back yourselves. But it's made up of things like the alert information that's coming out at the moment, any information around the devices, the templates in use, etc. And then we can see we're moving on here to where we're actually saying, okay, so this alert rule is matching. We're going to issue an alert. We pull in some information about that alert rule and the transports associated with the rule itself, and we start looping through and testing those. So the first one being the mail transport, we can see the name we gave it just here. Gives you the query again for pulling out information about that alert transport itself, so it can build the config options. And that's there's a bit of debug here to go, right, okay, we're going to send an email to this email address. And then we see the response here for this transport. It'll be the same. You'll either get an OK or a fail on each of the transports. This one's saying it's OK. Inserts an event log entry to say what's gone on, and then we move on to the transport Discord. Same thing, pull information about the transport and the response back from that transport itself. I think I'm saying transport too many times, is okay. And if it was anything else, then again you'd get some more debug information back to sort of try and ascertain what's going on for it. Okay, so that's the end of the video. Hopefully we've shown you enough information of how to go off and create alert transports, transport groups, and then how to debug and test those as well. Happy to take feedback on these videos. Also, if anybody's got any additional content they want to see from us, it doesn't have to be about LibreNMS. We support various different other network monitoring platforms out there. Then please do get in touch. I'm happy to create the content and give it back to the community. Okay, thanks for watching.